Today I will talk about SHX, XRP, and I will also talk just a bit about Casper and HBAR in order to try to illustrate the point here, which is that the price action in SHX and even Velo has been causing a lot of concern and or even panic at times. And it reminds me a lot of the same kind of price talk around XRP, Casper, and HBAR. And the important point here is that what institutions are doing far outweighs whatever we think institutions are doing. And what institutions plan to do is far more than whatever we think institutions are planning. And here is a clip from the Stronghold AMA that kind of highlights that.
We do have an upcoming announcement that will expand the footprint of the customers that we will serve. So stay tuned for the upcoming announcement in the coming months of something that will allow us to do something in that arena.
And that right there was in reference to expanding their footprint in terms of SHX. But the big thing I took out of it was that she is sporting XRP and XLM clothes, which I don't think is an accident. And of course, there are a lot of interconnections in between XLM, XRP, and SHX, as I talk about a ton. But with everything that was discussed in that AMA, I think it's even more important. So as far as the price action goes, here we have SHX, which over the last 1 month or so has gone down from about 11.5 cents to about 6.5 cents, but it went up from about 0.05 cents all of the way up to almost 14. And in terms of its overall price action, it is beginning to catch back up to where it was in the past, and I think will continue to push up and past that. And in terms of Velo as well, we have come back down to about 1.75 cents after we went from about half a cent all of the way up to just about 2 cents, which in terms of its overall price action actually shows a lot of activity on a log scale. And I have talked about how the price action of Velo compared to SHX is indicative of very large holders probably taking profits out of SHX and turning it over into Velo in order to compound gains, which is entirely expected and it's entirely normal. And it's even a positive thing because there are multiple projects in the Stellar ecosystem that have been attracting a lot of attention, which are SHX and Velo. And it all comes back to these projects that are connected into IBM, which connect into R3 and XDC. You've got Quant, HBAR, Casper, XRP, and of course XLM. And one thing that begins to paint the picture of big things being close is that the burn of SHX has gone down drastically. In fact, a lot of days it doesn't have any burn at all, which in my mind, especially with the upcoming Nacha conference that Stronghold is a sponsor of, and they are speaking, makes me think that they have been testing and preparing in order to have everything worked out. So just to be clear on the AMA, I didn't even watch that because I didn't really expect a lot to come out of that. And all I heard about afterwards was how it appeared as if it was a pretty horrible update. And I had that expectation just because there is a lot of real applications that are under NDA. And I don't really know what people expect these kinds of companies to actually come out and publicly disclose. I mean, that kind of expectation wouldn't be had at a shareholder call for Google or Microsoft or IBM or Amazon. Here is the recording in case anyone wants to check it out. But Crypto Banker called out some of the highlights, which are that NDAs are in place with exchanges, and the exchange listings will only be announced when it is time to go live. Stronghold is expanding their customer footprint outside of the US, which will have an announcement on that. It's all about holding off until we have clear US crypto regulations before everything can be rolled out to its full extent. And here is the video that Crypto Canvas and Crypto Banker SHX had, where they are talking about a couple of highlights out of that. And one of the things that popped up is an update on the old institutional exchange. So one of Crypto Banker SHX's questions on that actually got called out and addressed. So we now know that the institutional exchange that they created with IBM in 2018 is not active at this time. And in regards to the Stronghold stablecoin that they developed with IBM, it could come back to life at any point now, which is actually an extremely positive thing, because there aren't a lot of crypto projects who already have an established stablecoin, and especially with the connections between Stellar and USDC, which ties into BlackRock and which also ties into Bancorp, which is one of the partners of Stronghold. It seems as if Stronghold USD is just there waiting to be turned on once we get regulations that appear as if it is in the works right now. Now, it is interesting how that connects into the announcement that Ripple made about a stablecoin coming. And we know that Ripple is one of the investors in Stronghold. So that will be a thing to continue to pay attention to. Right now, there are no US centralized exchanges that have SHX. With the investment Stronghold made to be gold sponsors at the Nacha Smarter Faster Payments Conference in May, that might change in the very near future. And here is a clip from an old podcast from about 8 years ago where Tammy Camp is talking about PayPal as an example.
You don't really need to migrate, like from if you're using like an educational, like Facebook group, for example, you don't really need to migrate from that to another group. It's sort of like that. You don't need to have that thing. You can cancel it and business is just going to go on, or like your life will go on. There's nothing to migrate.
Oh, sure. Yes, exactly. Sure.
So then one thing I think I'm interested in, I think a lot of people will be interested in, is this idea of to go to these 40,000 people, 4 million people in 4 months. How does that happen? Like what?
Oh, so that's purely on referral. So, the PayPal, actually, so it was a payments protocol. It enabled people to send money instantly for free in any currency. And so applications would go on top of it. Protocol meaning like SMTP. SMTP is the protocol that email runs off of, right? It's free, no one owns it, and we're basically building the same thing, or, it's still in existence. We built the same thing, but for financial services, for remittances and like money transfers and stuff. So basically what we built, education program, into the mandate of what we were doing, and we just looked at PayPal because it was actually funded by Stripe, which is the payment processing company, and then so Patrick Collison and Keith Raboy, which is in the PayPal mafia, were on the board, and they pointed us into the direction of looking at PayPal. Now, when PayPal started, it was back in the day where everybody were very scared to move money on the internet, and they were having a hard time getting users. And what they did was give away $10 to people. They funded everybody's account $10, and that's basically what we did. We funded everyone's wallet with $10 worth of Stellar, which is the currency that's native to that protocol.
What's $10 worth of Stellar worth?
$10.
Like US?
Yeah, $10.
$40 million. That's a lot of money.
So yeah, well, we gave it away.
A lot was talked about in that clip right there. The important things are that we know that Tammy Camp has been extremely effective at bringing on a large number of customers into a crypto network. We also have the extremely casual comments about the PayPal mafia and PayPal itself, which then points back to things that SHX might be involved in right now that just hasn't been put out publicly yet. And the important thing is that all of that ties into what I talk about in regards to what Stronghold and SHX are connected to. It is not a company that is just trying to pump a token. It is a company that is trying to develop an extremely valuable payment application and a payment network that is connected into extremely powerful individuals, organizations, and companies. They have also been hiring for a director of revenue, and they are trying to use an existing network of key contacts in the banking industry, payments, and blockchain to quickly generate a network that will enable them to exceed targets with generated business. Here we get into XRP talk, and it's kind of just more of the exact same thing, but I want to tie it into the larger point here. So on April 16th, we had talk of some kind of court action that was scheduled to happen. And a lot of people were not expecting any changes. Well, we found out that it actually got pushed off by about a week, and it's not even happening in the way that it was initially expected. So Ripple will file its response to the SEC's request for penalties by April 22nd, and the SEC has until May 6th to reply. So we shouldn't really expect any changes at this point in time, which all came from confusion off of the calendar here that calls out a final pretrial conference on April 16th. And I don't really understand why the incorrect idea there was actually some kind of event happening on that day got responded to with a lot of harassment because it was on a schedule. And of course, I don't have a lot of expectations of the government to actually be competent enough to keep up with their own schedule, but it was a little bit odd to me that even people in the XRP community online were being extra, I guess we can call it extra aggressive to people who were pointing to the calendar here that clearly had that there was some kind of event happening. And a couple of quick esoteric things out of Ashley Prosper, who is paying attention to April 18th and April 21st, which I have no expectations of it happening anytime soon. So I think that the whole XRP thing will be drug out for as much time as possible until we have some kind of clear expectations of what regulations are.